Hi everyone, Michael here. Today we're going to be building the NX-01 Enterprise, but with this particular build, we're going to be making the evil Terran Empire version. Hopefully this video will help answer questions regarding masking, painting, and decaling. Let's begin. The 1/1000th NX-01 kit comes with a lot of very small parts. That's my kind of warning when you're building this. Especially there are parts here for the warp nacelle that are incredibly small. I would recommend keeping these on the spur when it comes to priming. Same goes for the clear parts here. There are these tiny ones that go on the edges of the saucer as navigation lights. These are incredibly small and they would fly off if you're trying to trim them. I would recommend painting these when they're still on the spur. For priming, I'm going to use Tamiya Surface Primer. It's kind of a pricey primer, but it's a very, very good primer and it's never failed me. Let's go ahead and get the primary ship parts primed and be back in a bit. Alright, I've already primed the model kit and I've put some of the parts together. Just follow the instructions before you put the halves together, which include all the windows on the bottom part of the saucer, hangar bay area, warp stabilizer, tiny little part that goes on the top of the pylon. Also included the bridge module and back area where the hangar is located. I kept the nacelles separate because there's so many parts that fit inside these. I feel it would be easier to paint this way. And also included all these small parts still on the spur for the nacelles. I have not painted the clear parts yet because those are going to be painted completely separately using clear reds and blues, maybe even white. Now let's get to painting. I have some custom mixed paints I was going to show you. Let's get to it. Alright, I already applied my first color, which is actually the color of the Aztec plating, which I'll use by the vinyl mask I'll be applying very shortly. Now the color mix that I use is a custom mix of Tamiya paints, which is a 3-part titanium gold and 1 part metallic gray. I wanted this color to be just a little bit darker than the main whole color, which I'll be applying later. And this main whole color is actually around 1 to 1.5 parts titanium gold and then 1 part flat aluminum. So it's just going to be kind of like a warmer shade of silver or chrome. So let's go ahead and apply the mask. Be back with you shortly. Now it's very important when you're using vinyl masks that you need a sharp X-Acto knife to weed out all the little shapes from the vinyl. Yeah, you just apply these one at a time. I'll go ahead and apply the rest of the vinyl to the model kit and I'll show you what it all looks like. Alright, all the masks have been applied. This is what they look like. So we got top of saucer with all the Aztec plating along with some areas of the pylons. Tiny little area of the warp stabilizing fin. And then the underside of the saucer with a little part of the pylon. And then the warp nacelles all have these 4 little panels on the very top, so those are covered as well. So now let's go ahead and airbrush the lightest color. Let's see how that looks. Alright, I've already airbrushed the lightest whole color shade and removed all the masks. As you can see, the final result is kind of this silvery gold, kind of like a champagne gold. And the effect is very, very subtle. And now let's get to detailing this. Now I'm going to fill in all these tiny little recessed lines, little shield grid lines, with Tamiya's panel line accent color dark gray. It's similar to like a wash, but it's a little more precise than a wash. You have this tiny little brush. I'll show you how to use it. You just need to touch it. And then you can literally watch the paint flow across the line. Well, that gives it some nice subtle detail. It's really clean too. So I'll go ahead and finish all this shield grid panel line and we'll get ready for the next step. Alright, detail painting is done and there are still some larger areas that need to be airbrushed. These would be areas that were not included in the decal sheet specifically for the Mirror Universe version. And that would include the areas around the bridge, behind the bridge, the warp stabilizer, the pylons, and the top of the nacelles. Regarding the clear parts, most of them are actually clear blue with the exception of the warp nacelles, which part of it is actually clear red. And there are a lot of them. Starting off with these tiny little pieces here, the deflector, which I've painted over some of the detailing with the base color. Same goes for the impulse engines, which I have also painted over with more of the base color. This tiny little dome right here, and then we got these auxiliary parts right here, which I've also accented with more of the base color. And then we got this, looks like sensor dome at the very bottom. And for the warp engines, the forward Buildup collector is actually coated in clear red, and the inside is copper. So if you move it around, it creates this pearlescent look. And then for the grills on the inside, they're clear blue, so if you shine a light behind them, they would appear lit up. And then all other areas were either accented with kind of this gold copper color, then black for the windows, and gunmetal for miscellaneous areas. And now let's go ahead and put this all together and get it prepped for decals. Alright, I am done with all the detail painting, and before we apply decals, you need to put a clear gloss coat over your model. And here I use this Pledge Revive It, as previously called Future, this is a water-soluble clear acrylic gloss that's primarily used for polishing table surfaces and floors, but you can put it through an airbrush, sprays wonderfully. And I'm going to be using this to actually apply decals. So, on to the decaling. Now when you're applying decals, rather than using the standard Microsol and Microset two-part decal application liquids, which are supposed to soften up your decals to have them apply better to your model kit, rather than using that, I'm going to use more of my clear acrylic to brush onto the surface before I'm actually applying the decal. This way it acts as kind of like an adhesive, and it reduces any silvering of the decal. Silvering is, if you're applying a decal onto a flat surface or you have air bubbles beneath it, it will show through your decal and it'll not make it look like it's painted on. So I've already brushed the acrylic on it, so let's go ahead and apply the decal. And the good thing about applying the acrylic is that you still have a little bit of wiggle room to move the decal around. So once the decal is on the surface, it's not 100% permanent yet. Okay, the decal is in place. And I just gotta moisten the Q-tip to kind of brush the edges, make sure there's no air bubbles. And just to be safe, I'm just gonna brush a little more of my acrylic around the edges, which will kind of seal it. Now when this sets, it'll, once the acrylic sets, it'll start to soak into the decal and make it look like it's painted on. So now let's apply the ship's registry. And there you go. Once you are done applying all your decals and they're all dried and set, coat your entire model with a clear gloss coat. This will protect all the decals you have just applied. And once that is done, apply a satin or a flat coat. With this build, I'm going to mix a few drops of this Tamiya flat base to my clear coat. This will create a satin and or flat finish. And now for the completed build photos. And there you have it, the Terran Empire NX-01. If you like this video and you want to see more videos like it, please click that subscribe button. If you have any comments about the model kit, paints, or techniques seen in this video, please comment down below. And as always, stay creative.